have any comments you'd like to make? Jeanette? Okay, we just open it up to question and answer, please. Yeah.
Hi, I live right around the corner.
Would you, when you speak, would you mind please saying your name and just where you live, please?
Patrick Harrington, Westchester Street, right around the corner. My wife and my little son. We just moved in here just over 3 years ago. And my main concern about this whole thing, especially because I do have at least one child at the moment, is traffic. Being on Westchester Street because of the school and the hospitals and everything else, it's the morning, it's, you know, practically a major street come rush hour, which is actually 2:30 instead of 5:30 around here. It's also a major deal. So you're talking about having night classes here. Us on that street, we finally get a break come 5 o'clock, and now you're talking about having college-age kids. I have a hard enough time. I'm right at the top of the hill, and people come buzzing down that street constantly. Now you're going to bring a bunch of college-age kids ripping their cars up the hill even more at 5 o'clock at night. I appreciate everything that's going on here. I think it's a great thing, but just from a selfish standpoint, for myself and my family, this is the major issue, is traffic. It's bad enough as it is around here. Broadway, just in front of the high school, is a mess during the afternoon. And now you're talking about bringing hundreds more people into the area. And I honestly haven't heard anything about what we're going to do about traffic or how to slow people down on the surrounding streets. I mean, this is, as a homeowner, someone who lives right around the corner, this is my major concern. And I really would love to hear somebody with some kind of option, you know, how to address it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. If I could, I'm going to just ask our planning director to talk a little bit about the process that we envision. Traffic was cited to us by the city officials as a concern right off the bat, as was stormwater. So we've tried to include that in our planning since the beginning. But Dennis Doyle, would you say a few things?
Thank you, Mr. Harrington. We appreciate your comments. Just quickly, one of the things that we are concerned about as well is how does this fit in with respect to some of the quality of life issues that Debbie mentioned. We want to be good neighbors. And part of being good neighbors is understanding what changes are going to take place because of the use change that we're talking about. So we're engaged right now, and we're in the process of engaging a traffic consultant to look at the changes that would occur. What I would say to you is clearly there will be a shift in terms of the peak morning traffic that it currently occurs. You heard Dr. Cott say some words in terms of when the peak enrollments are. Those peak enrollments are during the evening times. We'll look at those peaks, give you folks a sense in terms of what the changes will be from the peaks that you're currently experiencing with the peaks that will occur with the college in place. If there's a need for mitigation, then we'll look at what that mitigation is.
In regards to what he was just talking about with the traffic, are you also going to take into consideration the hospital is going to have a lot more traffic as well between ambulances, fire trucks, as well as, you know, visitors going there?
I think we'll take a look at those issues, and one of the things that we want to work with the city planning office are in terms of how those issues will play out. But given the magnitude of traffic changes that this project will generate versus the likelihood of magnitude of traffic changes that the hospital will generate, we don't know what that is yet. But mitigation will be looked at in terms of this particular facility's contribution to the problem. And that's typical in the review process. We don't think where we are now is we're going to run into capacity issues. We think we're going to run into issues with respect to changes in terms of levels of activity, but we don't think we're going to run into issues where we have capacity issues, primarily because most of the work that we're looking at and most of the timing here will be off-peak compared to the other peaks that currently occur. But that's why we're going to have the traffic consultant essentially take a look at this.
You know, if I could just add one thing. We also looked at the demographics of who are using the programs that are now at the VRC that would come here. And you might be surprised that the bulk of the people using those classes are not just college-age students who you might think of as 18 to 21 to 22. Oftentimes, we have students that are 45 and over, particularly the continuing ed classes, and a lot of the certificate programs are attracting adults. So let's say you're training for a mid-career advancement, and you're doing a program here. You very well could be, you know, in your 40s or 50s. So, next, any other things you want to add, Don?
No, I was going to point that out.
Yeah.
The average age of our student body is 28, and the older students tend to access the evening courses. The traditional recent high school graduate is coming down to the Stone Ridge campus during the day, but there are still some typical age students coming in the evening, but the bulk of the students at night are older students.
And I just stress we're at a very early stage. Typically, a public meeting isn't held until we've already hired the other architect and are well into design. So the goal of this was to get these issues out early, so when the architect does come on for final design, all of these things are you know, spelled out already. Yep.
Hi, Emily Hauser I live on Highland Avenue, I live in Kingston. And I have a couple of questions. Do you want me to stop?
Yeah, please.
Or, when you stop after the first? Or
Yeah, it depends how long they are. I can write it down.
Okay, well, I lived in a town where we could walk from kindergarten to college and graduate with a bachelor's, and I really understand how important that. It was really, really nice. It was great to do that, to be able to walk all the way through to college. And I also my children grew up on Hoffman Street until they were in junior high. And I want to speak for the children before they go to school. I lived in this area, and this was our playground. They didn't go to school here. The school was closed. It was a preschool. And this was the closest place for us to go and run around and use the swing sets. So that will be gone. That will be gone, and we are taxpayers, and we want to have, you know, the use of school district grounds during the evening and the weekends is an advantage for those of us who don't have kids in the school district yet or anymore. So that open space will be gone. And I have also seen there was a field that we could play in that is paved now behind the tennis courts for high school kids to park in. And if Mahar gets sold, that playground will be gone. So I would like to know, and I wanted to say that everyone knows that getting outside and playing, whether you're a preschooler or getting fresh air, is really important for everyone. And you're gonna, this could be used, this playground could be used for the high school. And so what are you gonna do? How are you gonna give back some playgrounds to the kids in this area and even the adults? That's my
Thanks,
first
Emily.
question.
I'm gonna let the county executive field this one. This is an easy one,
This is
right?
an easy one.
Yeah.
And again, a very personal one, just so you know, when my wife was the PTA president here, this is what we fought for. We fought to raise the money to be able to build the playground. That's one of the big things that we did. I remember sitting right about there and giving a series of checks for about $30,000 from banking institutions throughout the community and other businesses to the PTA to be able to get that playground built. So my wife did tell me, one of the critical things is making sure we get the playground situation done and done well. And so I understand your concern. Again, part of Ulster County's real goals are to make sure our children do get out and be able to act and participate in activities. We're fighting childhood obesity on a regular basis. It's all integrated from our perspective. So I think the question really comes down to what are the mitigating factors going to be able to try to help ensure that there are local play spaces for the kids in this area. And I think that's an important part of this. And I think that's the part that we're going to be looking to address. So The question's legitimate. I think we want to make sure that we're able to address it. We want to make sure that there are playgrounds for kids locally. And again, these are the kinds of things that we want to be able to have emanate from meetings just like this. So thank you very much, and I know you have more questions.
And we are also seeing if we can salvage the playground materials without losing the warranty on it, so that they might be relocated to another spot as identified either by the school district or by the city.
Okay, thank you. My kids were pre that playground also. They just have open space and a swing set for that. Okay, so the second question is, just to follow up on that, I would suggest that you at least put some basketball courts in or something that could be used for weekend. Then I'm gonna cover stormwater and energy conservation at the same time. Energy conservation, you haven't mentioned anything. You haven't mentioned if you're gonna do anything different or insulate. Okay.
I'm sorry that wasn't mentioned. Maybe I can just give
Okay.
that out quickly. So our legislature has tasked us with any major construction or reconstruction project to meet silver LEED standards. And LEED standards are a private standard for new buildings and reconstruction that incorporate attributes like the energy efficiency, the reuse of a building, the use of sustainable materials, the quality of the interior air. So we are doing this to meet silver LEED standards. Now, some of the green attributes of this building, firstly, we're reusing a building, which is green in itself. We're revitalizing a center of a community. We're doing so in an area that's walkable and has access to transit. All of the windows are going to be replaced in the building with energy efficient windows. The HVAC system, we have a heating system. The cooling system has just been, ad hoc window air conditioners. So we're going to put in an efficient cooler system. One of the first things that we do once the architect comes up is to meet with NYSERDA, the New York State Energy Research Development Authority. We already have a project manager who's been granted to this project, and we would meet to figure out everything from energy efficient motors for the elevator to making sure that our lighting is the most efficient. And that's both the right thing from the environmental perspective, but also a cost, an operational cost perspective. The pervious pavement also gets us points towards LEED certification, because that in itself is a very innovative, we're basically storing stormwater under the parking lot. And so, any other attributes?
Well, I just want to mention that in the feasibility study, there's actually a section dedicated to the building systems, and as part of that, there's a sustainable design section of that. And actually, we included a preliminary LEED 2009 checklist, which actually goes through all the major items that you can earn points to become LEED certified. And what we found is that we're on our way to, certainly we can achieve a certified, and so we're within reach. So, and that's at a very preliminary stage.
Okay, my next question.
How many are there, Emily?
Why-
Just more of me so I can.
2 more.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry. My next question is, correct me if I'm wrong, but we are in the Hasbrook sewer shed. So what that means is that the Hasbrook sewer shed sends a lot of water. We have combined sewers in this area. So whenever it rains, all the water goes to the sewage treatment plant, and if it rains really hard, then the sewage treatment plant overflows. And it overflows about 80 times a year, and it's only supposed to overflow 6 times. So the idea with the stormwater and everything is that that's why I'm sure that we're concerned about the stormwater. So pardon me? So I just wanted to point that out in case you weren't aware of that. And the city is under has a long-term control plan, which you provide that. So is there any plans to say put a green roof in that would catch even more water than just what you're doing with the parking lot and other amenities that would make sure that the water, and this would also just give us a little bit more green to take care of the heat island effect. So that's the next thing.
I would just say we're gonna be looking at all of the things that we could do to mitigate stormwater and green this campus. You know, we did reach out to New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation, which does a lot of the green infrastructure work. We will try to apply for additional dollars. Again, they've really raised the bar on innovative projects. It used to be pervious pavement, that was innovative. Now you gotta do a cistern system and reuse the water for certain things. So to the extent we can, we will incorporate that. We certainly will try to have landscaping that deals with that heat island effect, which is when you have a lot of pavement and you have no greenery, it gets pretty hot in the neighborhood, and it doesn't really do much for the atmosphere in that neighborhood. In terms of the combined sewer overflow, that's primarily a function of how much water we can keep from going off the site. We can't solve the city's issues, but we certainly are not going to exacerbate the city's issues. We're going to deal with our stormwater, the extra stormwater that we regenerate, and we'll look for opportunities where we can mitigate the issues that are already there. You know, Alderman Brown had raised the point of some flooding down. We're going to ask our consultants to look at everything they can to mitigate that. Can I give somebody else a chance, and we'll come back to, yeah?
Yes, Tony Arkulevich, West Chestnut Street. I've been personally involved with bridge programs. I commend your efforts. I've seen the benefits, and they're immeasurable, where students are able to literally almost be able to graduate through their senior year, part of their junior year. It's a tremendous vision, collaboration. I commend everyone for that. But like any great vision, it can become bogged down by reality. And the reality of this is it's going to bring more traffic. And Mr. Hine made a statement that property values don't go down with a college. Obviously, they don't go down. They do go down with excessive traffic congestion, parking issues, etc. I urge you to be proactive rather than having to be reactive. I would suggest maybe, you can see Suzanne Cahill here, that she be actively involved. I know a government entity doesn't have to be, doesn't have the authority to have to approve another government agency's or entity's construction. But I strongly suggest you get someone from the planning department, planning board involved. You do a strong traffic study. I was doing some math. I might have missed something. I heard that there were going to be 200 students constantly at night. I was doing math, and I was adding up about 170 spaces, and that's not even including staff. I may have had my math wrong, but I heard 115 in the back, 40 existing, 15 new. But you know, I'd like to hear some numbers.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know,
Number of students and, yeah.
if I may, before they talk about the technical side, I will tell you, I think it's important to highlight this one key piece. I appreciate the thoughtfulness of your question. You're saying you understand the importance of these kinds of programs. You understand the innovativeness of the vision. And if I'm hearing you right, what you're telling us is make sure you get it right. And I think that's a legitimate
Well, I'm
concern.
saying be
Make sure.
proactive rather than facing a group of people.
Absolutely.
In an auditorium, in a school board meeting, in a county meeting.
I think your point is very well taken, because what you're saying basically, and again, tell me if I'm wrong here, you want to make sure as a group that we're addressing the things like traffic. That's a very significant concern from a neighborhood, and you're right to be concerned. We want to make sure we get that right. We deal with that issue proactively. We want to make sure that the studies are done and the mitigation is done well in advance, before it becomes a significant problem. We want to make sure that we deal with stormwater, because we don't want to make things worse. We want to be a good neighbor. We want to make sure that this entire process is successful. And in addition to that, we really wanna make sure that we acknowledge that the other option here, for all intents and purposes, is a vacant building, another vacant building in the city of Kingston. And instead of that, this is going to be what we believe is a real jewel, real key to the heartbeat of an educational corridor. We see this as an important
But all of
concept
that is
here.
forgotten, Mike.
If it's not done well.
All that vision is forgotten, all the fact that it's
Yes.
an empty building, all of that is forgotten. If you have an irate community here.
Absolutely.
With cars, with no parking, parking over in the hospital parking lot, so then your colleagues over there are upset because this has become the only hospital. Now you have people over there.
I think you're right.
That's what I'm saying, and I think, you know, I know you don't have to have another government entity involved. I would
Don't-
suggest
I get-
that you have someone from the Kingston, planning board, whatever. The only other question I had, I'm sure you're gonna do it right. As I know people involved, you're gonna do it right. I just don't wanna be attending a meeting where the auditorium is full.
To be quite frank with you, me neither.
The audience isn't quite as friendly.
Because they won't be yelling at you.
Well, I have my days of that, but,
So-
the other
But just,
question.
let me, before you
Yeah,
get,
sure.
I will say this. So, I always say, we get it, we understand this component. And so, I'm very pleased to be able to tell you that the city planning department and the county planning department work extremely well together and have for an extended period of time. And so really the next steps here are to make sure that we do exactly what you say and be proactive in that
So
process.
you need a really
And
good,
Sue,
strong.
Sue and Tom have been in the meeting since the first,
You need a
you know,
real
part of it.
strong, accurate, unbiased traffic study. I don't know if your firm does it, somebody else. The only other question I had is how, was the, $300,000 price put on this building? Was it appraisal or market comparisons? How was the $300,000?
You guys want to touch base with this?
Actually, I think we started, really looking at leasing the facility.
No, I'm talking about on the ballot, there's gonna be a vote to
He's
approve
getting-
the $300,000 sale. Okay.
Don, you want me to hit it?
Okay, go ahead, Chris.
Sorry. Don was talking about the lease, we were gonna lease it for $30,000 a year for 10 years. And that evolved into a conversation, well, should we just be purchasing it? Because the college wanted to be able to put additional dollars in to make the project, you know, just beyond the basic project. So things like the window replacement, the new lobby, all of those were investments that the college felt more comfortable making, having a sale. So there were negotiations that went back and forth for quite some time, and we came to the understanding that it was essentially like the college leasing this for 10 years at an approved amount. Now, and the
I
parking.
understand that, but I'm asking the school district officials, how did they arrive at a
Okay,
300?
Paul?
I think that's important that the community knows that as they cast their ballot on approving.
There's two things, two ways to answer that question. One's, we haven't built the building appraised, and obviously a school building like this and any school building based, there's not a lot of comparative properties for them to really do an appraisal on. We are right around the fair market value with the offer that was given to us. You know, our appraisal was about $500,000. So although we're a little bit lower than that, I think that given the market for this and given the opportunities this program put forward, this project put forward, the Board of Education felt that was a fair price.
Thank you. And my only suggestion, put that in your budget newsletter so people know how you're running it. Thank you.
And the appraisals for all of our buildings that are either being sold now or that are being on the ballot to be sold are all on our website. So if people want to go in and see what the appraisals are, we've had all out, they've been out at board meetings, the board has discussed them, and they are on our website.
Thank you.
I will say, thank you for asking that question, because that's one of those questions that people are gonna be asked to vote on the 21st. And it's important for people to feel informed about how and where this whole thing came about, where the dollars are at. And there's another key provision here. We wanna make sure that we're protecting taxpayers every step of the way through this, and that's a critical part of this.
I just wanted to say a little something about the parking issue in terms of getting it right. One of the things that we did do prior to looking at the need for additional parking was do a capacity analysis. Just take a look and see what our current parking demand was at the BRC, and then look at that in relationship to the parking that we needed at this particular site. Given our current demand at the BRC, we would anticipate that the spaces that we created on this site can handle all of the parking needs on site for all of the activities. There may may be some peak parking demands on one evening that may or may not, depending upon growth in program. But when we look at it, they continue to basically be able to, with the 170 sites that we'll have available, be able to meet all the parking demands for the college on the site itself, without any spillover into lots associated with the school district, or any spillover in terms of parking on the street.
And we do have the option of overflow parking into the lower lot by the tennis court. We had talked about having that be reserved in part for the police academy, because their entrance is closest to that. So again, just also keep in mind that not every student equals a car. When we have evaluated that, it actually comes out to about 1 car trip per 2 students, or a little bit under that. So again, we built in extra spaces on the top that were quite expensive, so we made sure we hit the numbers we needed. And again, we have that overflow from the school if need be.
Is the sale of the school going to be a separate issue on the ballot, or is it combined in one vote?
It'll be a separate issue on the ballot.
My name's Joan Sapp, and I actually live in Hurley, but I'm part of the school district, so I'm very interested in all this information. My question is actually for Dr. Pedalino. This idea of the two diplomas at graduation is interesting, and it sounds exciting, but what would be the actual cost to the students and the family of doing that, of having an associate's degree at graduation?
But like I said, we already have so many AP, SUNY Ulster, and other college classes in our high school where we have discounted rates that our students pay for tuition to take those classes. Again, and that's something that we have to work, that this is going to evolve, and we have to work out with SUNY Ulster, but we already have, a high school graduate from Kingston High School can walk out of Kingston High School with more than 20 SUNY Ulster credits right now. So if you do the math, it's only a few more classes, and that's an associate's degree. If we create that crosswalk, if our guidance people meet with the people at SUNY Ulster, so that's what we're looking at. So we're not looking at a much larger cost, really. We already have arrangements with SUNY Ulster as far as what our students pay for tuition, and we'll work through that, and it'll evolve. But I see it, like I said, they're already paying for the credits, they're already getting the credits, we just haven't put them in the right sequence.
Hi, my name's Tanya McFarland, and I actually live right next door. My property borders Silky. So my concern is more a privacy issue, because it's been great having the school here, because school's out at 3. I have my whole backyard privacy to myself and my children. Weekends on Saturdays, nobody's here. All summer, nobody's here, and now all that will change with having classes in the summer and the evenings and weekends. My daughter just learned how to ride her bike on Saturday, which was great, and she learned that in the parking lot, which now they're not gonna be able to really ride their bikes there if I've got traffic coming in front of my house up the hill. So I just was hoping that, when landscaping and all those types of things are done, that could be kind of addressed, because like I said, you can see the school from my backyard. So I'm hoping to have some privacy, being that the school is gonna be more in use now than it has been.
Which street are you on?
I'm on, right here,
Okay.
I'm literally
Right
right
there.
here.
Remember the house we talked about today?
Yes.
Right there.
Just so you know.
My barking dog.
It sounded familiar, Debbie.
Didn't it sound
2
familiar?
things. My son learned to drive in the
Yeah,
same
right.
thing. So, but I think really the question really is going to be, what actions can we take to mitigate it, to make sure you can maintain the maximum level of privacy? And I think that really is going to be a landscaping issue. But clearly it's something that we're going to be evaluating. Okay.
Thank you.
And we only offer classes on Saturday mornings, so you still have Saturday afternoon.
Okay.
By the way, you don't know how hard it was to hold Don back when he heard we were going to talk about what the best deal in education is in this community. Don really wanted to be able to talk about the community college, because the truth of the matter is, it is a phenomenal bargain to be able to educate a young person, whether they're going on to a 4-year institution or whether they're staying here. It's a tremendous education for the money.
I have an easy question, Maureen Bowers from the school board. When you were showing us the schematics of the first floor and the second floor, there was a small, or at least it looked like a small cafeteria on the second
I don't think
Anita.
they've really, worked that out yet. I think they maybe, do you wanna speak to this?
Currently, we've got basically a lounge with vending machines over at the BRC, so that's our first step that we're thinking about. Depending on demand and other various factors, we obviously could look at bringing in a vendor to provide something. We contract with a vendor over at the Stone Ridge campus to provide those services at the cafeteria and a small cafe there. We're just not sure yet what's gonna be the best outcome.
Okay, because I didn't see allocation for, food preparations.
Yeah, and that's one of the bigger issues. We don't want to be in the food service business, but we obviously have to serve the needs of our students.
And we're hoping it also drives business to some of the area delis and the pizza place and the other cafes. So, we hope when people come here, they'll walk a few blocks and go and also patronize the local businesses here.
And I know they would appreciate the
Yeah, I think that's one of the advantages of this site over where the BRC is. There's one diner, and here you have a lot more choice, and you're really helping out urban business.
My name is Andy Chantarant. I don't live in this neighborhood. I do have friends who do. One is I want to say very excited about this project, especially the high school early college component. I work at Barton College where we have that going. It's worked very well in much worse neighborhoods than you can imagine. In Newark and Queens, in a public school situation. So I think that's a really exciting possibility. I want to say, you were asking about the cost of the program to the families. Think about the cost of 2 years of college. Just going say to SUNY Ulster, where it's what, 34 a season?
4130 currently.
4130. New Paltz, even the public schools are getting very expensive. So very excited about that. I'm also wondering if there are any plans for a shuttle. A shuttle that runs from the Stone Ridge campus to here. And what are the county city bus plans for getting folks around town? Because this is great for folks in walking distance, but there are a lot of folks live 2-3 miles away that are in town. And if you're, say, doing the high school or early college, you may not be able to get those classes within the normal school bus hours.
Before Dennis talks, because Dennis is going to talk to you for a while about this, by the way. Now, one of the nice things about, and by the way, thank you very much for the kind words, that was very nice. I think that what we're looking at trying to do here is make sure we maximize the public transportation component. If the need develops, we always act, and whether that means something from SUNY New Paltz to the train station, which the county got actively involved in that process, or any other particular transit need. So if it turns out that a shuttle makes sense between the two, the satellite campus and the main campus, absolutely we would get involved in that process. The coordination between the city bus and the county bus, again, we're consistently looking at our routes. Bob DeBella does a tremendous job for us at UCAT, and we're continually looking to refine our routes to make sure that we get it right as well when it comes to those kind of things. And we've really done a complete overhaul on those routes to make sure that they're usable for people. Again, back a few years ago, it was difficult to use the UCAT system because simply they weren't there on a regular schedule, and now they are. And now you're able to actually utilize them for being able to get back and forth to work or back and forth to school. But there clearly are going to be, we're going to look at this facility as well and how we can best service it.
Is there any plan to revive the Dutchess Ulster connection at Kingston?
Again, not that I'm aware of at this point. Dennis?
No, we've just completed, in addition to the planning director role, I also hold a role as the county executive chairman, something called the Transportation Council. We've just completed a whole new look at the transit system in Ulster County in terms of maximizing, with a particular focus, quite frankly, on the city system. And one of the things that we did look at is the feasibility of what it used to, I think inappropriately named the Duck, which was the Dutchess Ulster Kingston Poughkeepsie link that started, and there's really no plans to essentially revive it. It wasn't successful. It was tried. The demographics don't look like it would be successful now. But we have proposed flex service in the city to deal with some of the larger destinations in the city. The city bus service currently runs basically through every ward, and it makes some sense to think about running major routes and then flexing into the ward service and then using some of our paratransit vehicles to essentially help that. We've also proposed, quite frankly, a shuttle connection between SUNY Ulster and SUNY New Paltz, a branding of that shuttle connection between those schools. And this wasn't on the radar screen when we did that study, but it makes whole lots of sense, and we currently shuttle a substantial amount of passengers between the city of Kingston and the SUNY campus now in Cottinghill, which acts as a hub for the system. So your comments are well taken, and we want to maximize the opportunity for transit at this site.
My name's Jeremy Collins. I'm a guidance counselor at the high school. I coach. I work with Mr. Arkulevich. My wife works at the college, and we were at Walk Hill. A big part of getting the collegiate program started at Walk Hill. Ulster's tremendous to work with. We talk about the cost to the students. They make it very affordable, so the students can access those classes. If it's a free reduced lunch student, it's an absolutely incredible number to make it accessible to those students. And we took pride in Walk Hill because we had a group of students that didn't think they're college eligible, and we were able to get them through some of the entry-level programs, and they went on to college and they did very well. Most of them went to Ulster and had a lot of success. So speaking to working with Ulster and collaboration, it worked at Walk Hill, it works at Kingston. So that's huge. Collaboration's the way it is now. We just did a huge collaboration with the YMCA with our weight program with our athletes, and we took an opportunity where we couldn't afford a weight room, and we went through the Y and we worked that out. And as long as both parties are willing to work together, which the school district's been excellent and the Y's been excellent, that's worked. So to speak to the collaboration, it seems to be the way to go. And this location is excellent. We're looking to put a freshman academy over here. These are the youngest students coming into the high school, being involved in that process, having an opportunity to visit a college campus, to get them excited about this is an opportunity for students who don't think that those are opportunities, and we don't have to go but across the parking lot. Those will open up those doors as well. So I think between the three gentlemen sitting here and everyone in this room, I want to thank you. And as far as voting or getting the word out, I don't know how you can do a better service to a community when you're going to close a building than bring other people in and save money and save opportunities for kids who wouldn't get that otherwise. So just thank you for that.
Thank you very much, Joe. That's very nice of you. Now, I want to make sure we get everybody a top
I have one other question,
Sure.
and it's directed to you, sir, sorry.
You never know, Chris White may dive in here.
I know, you said and I agree, it's not good to have a vacant building. But there again, it's either this one, or it could be the one on Flatbush Avenue. Do you have any plans for the one on Flatbush Avenue if you take the health department to go out to Ulster?
Great question. Let's talk about what the goal is, and again, this is that additional portion of this. Flatbush Avenue, 300 Flatbush Avenue, is a very large facility, very large property, city water and sewer, 14 acres on a commercial corner. So there's great value in that. And it is our real hope is that what we'll do is be able to attract, it'll probably be mixed use in that process, and to be in a situation, but ultimately it's going to be the decision of the city officials, the city planning department, the city residents, on what goes in there. And ultimately what we hope it is a job creator and a tax, in a situation where it goes back on the tax rolls to help offset city taxpayers' taxes. And so we really see this as a valuable asset and a perfect place to actually be developed. If it wasn't for the fact that the county owned it and kept it off the tax rolls for so long, It would long ago have been developed. It's a rarity. It's a very valuable property in the fact that it is able to attract commercial development into the city of Kingston. So there's that piece of it, the thought process. Here, yes, the idea of having a vacant building in the center of Kingston is almost unthinkable. Though it might not be bad for training my son to ride the bike, and he can train me to ride the bike. But the functional reality here is it's not great for a city to have vacant buildings. It lends to a whole host of serious
No matter where it
problems in
is.
an inner city, no matter where it is. And so we're looking at being able to do something, what we think here is very special. What I'm hearing is genuine concerns, genuine issues being brought up, and we have a job to do. And like we talked about in the back, we have a job to be able to get it right. Do the proactive studies when it comes to parking. Make sure we're addressing the environmental concerns. Make sure that we're also, by the way, seeing it as what it is. An opportunity for the city, an opportunity for the school district, an opportunity for the community, an opportunity for our youth to really do something special, really special, and open up education to inner city youth who really saw college as something that wasn't available to them. And to do that, and to really make a difference in our community and moving it forward. And so I want to thank each and every one of you for coming tonight. If you think of a question afterwards that you think, oh, I should have asked that, don't hesitate to contact us, okay? All of the stuff that we talked about on the Strive project are also available online on the county's website, on the school district's website, and on the community college's website. So all of this stuff is available and out there to be able to discuss. But again, if you have an additional question, don't hesitate to ask. We look forward to doing this, and I hope all of you feel informed enough and confident enough to be able to vote for this project and for the sale on the 21st of May this month, okay? Thank you so much for coming tonight.